Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. I'd like to just welcome you to the Prospect Gallery opening of The Well, artworks you see around you by artist Joanna Majchrowska. And I would like to welcome specifically a warm welcome to Dr Thomas Mical, Associate Professor of Architecture at the University of South Australia, and he would like to do the opening speech for you today.
Okay, thank you. I'm not going to talk too long. I wrote the essay in the catalog, so if you have a chance to read it, it's probably much more poetic than what I'm going to describe now, which actually was a beautiful chance encounter. I was sitting at my desk avoiding some of my responsibilities, and Joanna came up and said, "Can you help me with a little project for a couple of minutes?" I said, "Yes, of course I can do that." And then I went to her desk, and she had suitcase after suitcase after suitcase filled with all these photographs, and she was opening up more and more and more, and they were just exploding into this mountain of images. And she goes, "How should I organize these?" And so I thought, okay, this is going to take more than a couple of minutes. And we had a very interesting conversation that ranged around the topic of representation, photography, cinematic stills, how you move through the landscape, and then it went to questions of childhood. And this is where I got particularly interesting and in some ways poetic, because one of the things we realized in looking through the images, although I've never been to these places, and I'm second generation Polish but from Chicago, and I grew up in an environment where Polish culture was either at the butcher shop or at the candy store that always smelled like licorice, and listening to my relatives argue and flip back and forth between the languages. But at the same time, I felt a particular affinity towards a lot of the images, and I recognized in them quintessential experiences that I would have in my childhood, although I played in a very different environment. So we spent a lot of time talking about this, how the particular qualities, the textures of the grass, the color of the sunlight as it moves through the leaves, the particular smell of the snow, the first day the snow comes and just takes all of the other things out of the air. Those unique, phenomenal qualities, which really get registered and imprinted in your imagination when you're a child, you take those with you. You take the landscape and you take your childhood with you wherever you go. And increasingly, as you experience more landscapes and have more experiences, you will often go back to those with a greater sense of understanding than you had at the time, too. So one of the things I tried to put in a little essay that I wrote was to point out this fact that although Joanna's childhood experiences you're looking at everyone's childhood experiences. Although it's a very specific landscape unique to that family and that culture and that environment, we all have a bond to a particular landscape, an ethos of a landscape that we grew up in and grew accustomed to. And we take that with us where we go. So I just wanted to close also by saying that in the process of helping her out, which actually wound up being a very interesting meeting of the minds, I don't think it came out exactly the way that I thought it was going to come out or the way Joanna thought it was going to come out. And that's actually really good, because I think that's the other thing that I mentioned in the essay, too, that's really important. Part of the fun of being a child is improvising and developing new ways of seeing the world and playing and experimenting in those particular contexts. In this case, around the well, but in general, working in the milieu or in the landscape that your family calls their own. So I'll cut it off there and let Joanna explain what she's really trying to do, because that was my interpretation. Thank you.
I would like to celebrate today because my parents' birthday was, my mom's on Thursday, my dad is on Wednesday. So I would like to celebrate, because we've got lots of Polish people, by singing happy birthday to them. But we're going to do it in Polish. So the Polish people, please sing loudly. And for the Australian English-speaking people, can you please just sing la la la? Okay. 100 lat, 100 lat, niech żyją, żyją nam.